Okay, Todd, but what do you mean Putin was right to invade Ukraine? Oh, hey, football fans. Welcome back to another edition of Buffalo Boys. As always, it is your pal, Ryan, along with my co-host, your pal, my pal, Todd. Todd, how are you?
Ryan, we said we weren't going to talk about that. Doing well, Ryan. Another fun weekend of football. My Packers got a W on the comeback. I think your Steelers won, if I remember right. They were a great defense for me, so thanks for not having them on your team. My fantasy team got the W. That's not saying much against who I played, but neither here nor there. We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, we sure will. You were also on a little vacation for a destination wedding. I think my invite got lost in the mail, as it usually does. But how was New Mexico?
New Mexico is great. For those listening out there, Forrest, one of our league mates, he, after 5 years, got married to the love of his life. And it was a beautiful wedding. It was at Forrest's parents' house. So not quite a destination wedding, but the destination was still beautiful. We got to go to the top of one of the mountains nearby. It's 10,300 feet. The views were amazing. Got to see some of the Breaking Bad set. Went up to Taos Pueblo, which is a UNESCO site, so it's well preserved and really cool. Got to try a couple new breweries, and all in all, probably one of the highlights of the year. So thanks, Forrest, for the invite.
Yeah, you don't have to rub it in, Todd. No, it sounds like a great weekend. Glad you had fun. Congratulations, Forrest. Moving on to the pod. For the second season in a row, Buffalo Boys is brought to you by Mattress Blacks.
I got a king-size mattress that's good for your bird.
Todd, I was tossing and turning last night, and I thought to myself, I really need to head to Mattress Blacks to get a new mattress. As you know, at Mattress Blacks, you can find the perfect mattress for you from all the top brands that you know and trust. For those that use the code 70 this week at checkout, they will get 10% off their purchase. Again, that is code 70, 70. And remember, at Mattress Blacks, you can get a king-size mattress that's good for your back. All right, Todd, before we get into the meat of the podcast, as we always do, I'd love to know, what are you sipping on today?
Ryan, we're going with the classic here. We've got Sierra Nevada, hazy little thing. Can't go wrong with it.
A classic. I've had it many a times. Sounds like a delicious beer for a Tuesday early evening. I have not got into the libations just yet, Todd, but I am sipping on some Arizona Diet Green Tea. I'm a big Arizona iced tea guy, and decided I'd go with the Diet Green Tea today, and it's actually not too bad. It's pretty good, so enjoying that.
Ryan, I might be mistaken, but I don't think you've had a beer on the pod yet in the first 4 episodes. I'm not going to say that some of our audience has called it out, but people are not happy.
Well, Todd, if they knew when we record, it is usually right after work on Tuesdays. And call me boring, but maybe it's getting old. I don't really feel like diving into the beer right after work. You know, I got to go to the grocery store, got to do some things before I start to relax. So hopefully that'll change. Maybe we'll have a special episode of the pod later in the season. We have some meetups planned. Looking for those. So yeah, I guarantee you, Todd, at some point I will have a beer in my hand and we will be cheersing the old-fashioned one. But for now...
The YouTube comments they're flying right now. They're saying it's called happy hour, Ryan, happy hour, for a reason.
And happy hours are actually illegal in the state of Georgia where I live, Todd. So that is my excuse. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers, Ryan.
And just like that, Buffalo Boys has begun. Todd, we skipped week 3, but obviously there were a lot of things happening. I think we can also talk about week 2, which was our last episode. I want to start off with Clown Owner of the Week. I think we've had a couple clowns amongst us. Todd, tell us your selection for Clown Owner of the Week this week.
I would love to, Ryan. Recapping week 3, I gave Forrest the Clown Owner of the Week as he got the L. He started 3 wrong players and had the most bench points on the season so far. And then moving on to week 3, Quality Control Coach, that one went to Neil. And that was particularly painful for me because he put a ton of points up against me. He had some huge waiver ads. He picked up the Tampa D, which got him 21 points, and he picked up Kyron Williams, which was a huge pickup, top 6 back on the season so far. And he was half the price of what we'll talk about soon, Jerome Ford went for.
Yeah, Neil's been having a great start to the season. He's 3-0, one of 3 teams that are 3-0 thus far in the early season. We will talk about all of those more. Before we get into all of that, quick hit stats. Do you have any stats for us, Todd?
I do. Speaking of forced wedding, we had 5 WPFL league mates there, and coincidentally, 5 Buffaloes were experienced over the weekend, so none of them were me. I gave Nixon a free layup because I was almost done with my beer, so I told him to Buffalo me just so that he could finally have that experience, that elation of calling someone.
Sure.
But we got all the Buffalo boys there. And then the highlight is obviously the best stat of all. One league mate got married.
Who had the most Buffaloes over the weekend?
I think I hit Mike with 2. Yeah, Mike got hit twice, and I recorded one of them and sent it to the league. So that was a fun little recording.
Nice. I missed that one. I'll have to go back to the archives, though. I was going to guess that Mike was the victim of the most, if not the groom himself. But maybe that you guys were taking it easy on him.
And then moving on for actual quick hit stats, your 0.4 victory over Mims was the 12th closest game in WPFL history, and it had the highest total points of any game with that close of a margin. So 2 big scores, you barely topped him, and it was an excellent match. And then Adler currently has 1.7 wins less than expected, which is a huge divergence this early in the season. That's it for my quick hits.
Thank you for pointing out my victory against Mims there, Todd. I'm looking at it now. I beat Mims by 0.4 points, and I actually had an even closer victory against Forrest the week before, 0.2 points. So if my victory against Mims was the 12th closest, off the top of your head, do you know how my victory over Forex ranked?
It was top 5, if I remember right.
Wow. It's a saying here in Georgia, Todd, maybe it's the same in Florida. A win is a win, and I will take all of those close wins I can get.
And Ryan, I made a mistake earlier. I was telling you my week 2 recap of our clown owner and quality control coach. So I want to go back real quick and give us our week 3 clown owner and quality control coach. Starting with the clown owner, that's going to go to Mims, who lost, like we just were talking about, by 0.4 to you, all because he wanted to switch kickers. However, it should have been Nixon. Nixon, he was traveling, but he started Watson, who was ruled out hours before the game. Fortunately, though, he started Mostert in his flex as well over Javante, and Mostert had a monstrous performance. So, I'm going to give him a solid and just say that he's the quality control coach of the week for getting so many points off Mostert.
Nice. Mims, sorry you're a clown owner, but you're hearing it from me. I think that was the best decision you've ever made. So appreciate you changing kickers at the last moment. Moving on to just transaction review. 2 weeks of transactions to talk about. And really, there's only one that I wanted to hit, Todd. It was just before week 3. Adler picked up Jerome Ford, who is now the Browns' #1 running back, for $1,001, easily a WPFL record. That was just insane to me. I think everyone wanted him. I put in some money. I thought my waiver bet was going to win, but clearly I was hundreds of dollars off. Were there any other transactions that caught your eye, Todd?
Yeah, Jerome Ford, obviously a lot of people dumped a lot of money on him. We had a ton of high bids, record-setting bids. Even in our previous leagues where we had less dollars to spend, no one had ever spent 100% of their fab. So this was the highest bid of all time. And, we had bids of 962, 947, 711 for me. Maybe I should have bid more, but I just wasn't convinced that he was going to be the true Chubb replacement. And, they already brought in Kareem Hunt, and just today they signed Deion Jackson, one of your boys from last year, to the practice squad. So there's a lot of competition for him, and Pierre Strong was already on the field for several carries. So I'm not too upset that I didn't get him, but he did perform well for last week. And then a couple other notable players got picked up last week. Tank Dell got added by Dave for $195, which was huge, but so was his performance this past week. And he is currently, I believe, wide receiver 10 on the season after 2 really strong weeks. So good pickup, Dave. I added the Steelers for a crazy $77, but also a good pickup for me. And then also I got Jaden Reed, who I'm liking more and more. And then there's a bunch of nameless talent at the bottom that we don't have to go over, but a lot of players added these past 2 weeks, and we'll see if they can stay in the roster.
That's right. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, Todd, I've heard that you have some trivia, and we are actually joined by a first-time Buffalo Boys contributor, our newest league mate, Mims. Mims, how's it going?
Pretty good. First time up here, hopefully not the last. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, man. Todd is a couple beers deep already. I'm drinking iced tea. I don't know where you are, if it's like 3 a.m. where you are.
No, I'm in the States. Should be here for the next couple of years. I'm in Pensacola, Florida. It's 5 p.m. It's the only part of Florida that's Central Time, which is weird. But it's long days, but they're good.
Well, welcome to the pod. And Todd, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty well as well. Glad we get to be in the same state right now. That's a fun little fact. Speaking of facts, though, for all of our listeners out there who are wondering who is Mims, we just talked about him on the last pod and sung his praises. You know, Mims continued his strong performance all the way up until week 3, where he became Clown Owner of the Week, as we just talked about, Ryan. Mims, do you have anything you want to say, any apologies you want to make to our faithful listeners?
No, I will never apologize. I lay it all out on the line every week. You lose some, you win some. That's the name of the game. I have no regrets.
You're definitely more accustomed to winning some with the highest clip in West Park history. So no one can fault you there. But let's dive into our trivia here. So these are all going to be pretty easy, straightforward. You know, Ryan had felt like the difficulty setting was on All-Star, and we're going to tone it back a little bit. So hopefully you can eke out a win here, Mims. I got 3 questions for us today. The first one is fairly straightforward. Which starting QB hasn't turned the ball over yet?
I actually know this one, and I'm so glad that I know this one. So I'll let Mims go.
I don't know why, but my gut's telling me Goff.
It is rookie QB CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans. It's crazy. I don't know if a rookie has ever done this, but I think last time I was reading, he was like 97 snaps without an interception. So hopefully that's right, unless Todd's like counting fumbles. I don't know if he has a fumble or not. Absolutely. Todd, your silence makes me think that I've stumped you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So like just 0 turnovers.
Yeah, no, Stroud is great. He doesn't have a pick, but he does have 3 fumbles so far.
Okay, so that wasn't who you were thinking of then.
No, the QB is still on the table here.
So he has no interceptions and no fumbles. Oh wow. And it's not Jared Goff.
It's not Goff.
Is this person known for being really safe with the ball, or would you call this just a good 3 weeks?
He is not known for safety, but also not known for just throwing it away.
How many games has this QB played?
Yeah.
I think that's an important question.
He's played 3 seasons.
No. Like, no. How many games did he play this season? How many?
He's played 3 games this season.
Starts?
Yeah.
Jesus, I had no idea.
Any last guesses, gentlemen?
The difficulty level continues to be on All-Star. Todd, congratulations. Who is the QB?
The QB is actually the QB1 on the season. Does that give you enough to guess?
Tua?
Nope. It is Justin Herbert.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that was really difficult. As advertised, Todd, congratulations. I guess you have 2 more of these incredibly hard questions. Can't wait to hear them.
I liked your confidence, though. On our second question, we have, how many kickers haven't missed yet? How many kickers have not missed a field goal or an extra point? I did this one specifically for you, Mims.
Oh, I don't know if this is just difficult for me because I'm team anti-kicker, but this is probably harder than the first one. So I would have to still say 22 of them have not missed anything.
22? Jesus. Okay, Todd, I was thinking more in the range of 2.
Yeah, I don't know where to start. I'm lost here. This is This is incredibly difficult for me.
Yeah, split the difference. It's actually 10.
Okay.
I'll give you guys credit for answering it right if you can name one of the 10.
Justin Tucker.
Nope, he missed 2 this last week.
Damn.
Nope.
Oh.
Yep. And the number 1 kicker, the reason I wanted to highlight this is rookie Jake Moody. Not number 1 in terms of overall, or he might be number 1 in overall fantasy points, but he is number 1 of all the kickers that haven't missed. He's kicked the most and has missed none.
Has Matt Gay missed any?
Well, let's see here.
Do you have his yards available? I'm just curious how many yards he's kicked for.
Hey, you're fine. He's got 308 yards of kick air yards. A new stat we're coming out with.
Nice. Love that.
All right, so that's, I mean, through 3 weeks, it's like 10 points a game on field goals. All right, that's not as dramatic as I thought it would be. All right, fair enough. Just curious.
All right, Todd, next up, matchup rundown review. No episode last week because Todd was building Adobe slabs for his girl in New Mexico. So we are talking week 2. I went 5-2. I'm now 10-4 on the season. Todd, how are you looking?
Ryan, it wasn't a perfect 7-0 in week 2, but it was a solid 6-1. So really stacking success here and, putting some distance between myself and you.
What is your total for the season now? Have you only lost two games? 1 game?
I went 5-2 last week, so my total on the season is 18-3 so far.
Wow. Awesome. Well, congrats on that. And now moving on, it is matchup rundown. We are starting with my game of the week. It is, first off, we have 2 battles of the 3-0 teams versus 2-1 teams. We'll start off with Doug versus Mims. Mims is still on the line with us. I guess I'll go first. While Doug is undefeated so far this season, I think Mims's team, I know Mims's team has been putting up insane points. I don't think that's going to stop this week. I'm picking Mims here. Todd, do you want to tell Mims how his team is going to fare this week?
Yeah, I've been pretty much spot on so far. So Mims, take notice and, breathe easy because I'm going with you. Both teams here have been doing really well. Both teams are averaging more than 110 points with the current starters that they have listed. They are both projected for 110 and 104 points. So it's looking to be a high scoring affair. But ESPN must be forgetting that Doug continues to start Najee. I don't know how Doug keeps stomaching starting Najee, let alone Josh Kelly, who can't move more than 2 yards at any given time. But outside of injuries, here's a fun fact for you, Ryan. Outside of injuries, Najee has produced the least amount of fantasy points compared to dollars spent for any drafted player in the West Park Fantasy League outside of injuries. So, is it time to question draft god status?
I think almost definitely. And I would love to hear Draft God's response to that. Yeah, I also like your tight end matchup against Carolina. You've got Hawkinson, number 1 tight end in the league right now. And also, I just noticed that Doug is starting Taysom Hill, who is number 36 tight end. Well, Mims, appreciate you joining us. We'll have to have you up again for owner orientation. Moving on, another matchup of the 3-0 team versus the 2-1 team. It is me versus Jimmy. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a big game against the Commanders for Jimmy. I think Olave could have a big game against Tampa Bay. I want to take myself here, Todd, but I think Jimmy's team is just too good. I think if everyone stays healthy, you could have a really seriously good season. Who do you like in this one?
Man, that's impressive, Ryan. That's really humble of you. I don't know if I could bet against myself. I don't know if I did last season, which was also why my picks weren't that good last season. But you're taking the smart route here. It's definitely going to be a good game. I like both teams. Both teams have fairly good matchups here. You got to be worried though, not having Mike Williams anymore. That's a big loss for you. I think this will be the highest scoring game this week though. So, but unfortunately, I think it's going to fall to Jimmy here. It's hard. Yes. I see a big week for Cortland Sutton coming in against Chicago. If the Chiefs are any indication, Sutton's in for 2 to 3 touchdowns this week.
He very well could be. We'll have to see what happens. The last undefeated team playing is Neil. He's got Nixon this week. Todd, who you liking this one?
It's hard not to pick Neil here. You know, Neil's been on fire, and historically, all the matchups have been blowouts across this rivalry here. You know, that the team winning averages winning by 32 points across the full length of West Park history. And, you know, Keenan Allen has been the best pick in the draft so far. He's earned more points per fantasy dollar spent than any other player. So Neil has been killing it at the draft. He's been killing it, like we talked about earlier, in the waiver wires. And on the flip side, Nixon's forgetting to start players that are listed as out. So it's hard to go with anything but Neil here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Todd. Mahomes, I think, is going to have a big game against the Jets. And Keenan Allen, I think, could just have an insanely massive day against Vegas. Up next, you versus Hoyle. Tell me how your team is going to do this week, Todd.
Would love to. You know, ESPN has me projected to score more points. Fantasy Pros has me as the worst team on the week. The projections are all over the place, but we all know that projections are terrible in this league, let alone in the fantasy market. Outside of mine are 18-3, so you can count those. But specifically for this matchup, I've got myself. You know, I can't go against myself here, especially with Hoyle still not up to full strength without Jonathan Taylor or Kamara. You know, my scheduling has been super lucky playing Rick, Mike, and now Hoyle, you know, bottom of the barrel team so far in the season. You know, Hoyle will be better throughout the rest of the season, but outside of last week, he hasn't looked very good so far. You know, in terms of history, Hoyle beating the playoffs in the dumpster fire of the losers bracket last year, he helped secure my last place. So, you know, I've been really coaching on my team to show up this week. This is an important week to get retribution here. And I think just in general, unbiased, my matchups are more favorable than Hoyle's. Pierce, Mark Andrews, F1, they're not slated for big weeks this week with some tough defenses they're going against. So I like my team.
Yeah, big revenge game for you, Todd. I think this one's going to be really close. I think it could go either way. I definitely don't fault you for picking your own team. I am going to go with Hoyle, however. I think the Seattle matchup against the Giants could end up in really big numbers for Walker, potentially Geno Smith too. I think it's that one could be a barn burner. Moving on, it is AJ versus Mike Simpson. I think Bijan will bounce back against Jacksonville. I also really like Eckler versus Vegas if he's healthy. So I'm taking AJ. Who do you like here, Todd?
I find it hard to believe Eckler will actually play this week. And if he does play more than, 20% of the snaps, I feel like they'll just ease him back. You can't just throw a 28-year-old back into the fray without easing him back in. But if he is, that's a game changer. So hopefully for AJ's sake, as well as my pick here's sake, which is going to be AJ. And that's mainly because I'm just not believing the Bengals till I see it. And that's a big component for Mike here. And also, did you know, Ryan, that Tutu Atwell is the wide receiver 12 so far?
I had no idea.
AJ's got a wide receiver 1 in his flex. So that's got to feel pretty good.
Absolutely. That's huge. Moving on, it is the newest married member of the league, Forrest. He is going up against Dave. I'm hoping that Dave doesn't give him an early wedding present, or rather a late wedding present, and give him a victory here. But how do you think this one is going to go, Todd?
From a historical standpoint, Dave has won 9 out of the last 10 games. So he's had Forrest's number. And I think if Dave actually sets an ideal lineup, he's got to put Tank Dell in, switch Stevenson to his RB2. You just got to give up on Derrick Henry actually being a RB1 at this point. And then I think if he starts Jerry Jeudy against the Bears, just like Sutton, I think it's going to be a big week for most of the skill players for a really struggling Denver Broncos offense. So I think all things considered, Dave is going to pull it out. And, Forrest is going to be distracted this week, having just got married. So just banking on the context as well.
Yeah, for sure. He'll be in wedding bliss, and we'll probably leave an injured guy on a starting roster. Last and certainly least, battle of the 0-3 teams. This is going to be a real stinker, and it is involving our pal Rick against Adler. I'll start out here, Todd. Rick's team hasn't scored over 86 points this season. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I don't know if anyone's asking for this, but this is just how I feel. I think Rick could have a historically bad season this year. I think we were talking before, Todd, and there have been a couple seasons with 3-win teams. I think Rick's team, if he doesn't do something dramatic, I think his team could be even worse. I mean, real Chicago Bears-esque. So, yeah, I have to pick Adler here.
That is a scathing hot take, and one that I am here for, Ryan. It's got to be hard because we've had some really bad teams, some teams that have just checked out and not cared, barely set their lineups, and still finished with 3 wins. So if he does finish with 2 wins, 1, bravo, but 2, I don't want to be in the group me during that conversation. In terms of this matchup, though, Adler has this in the bag. He's been making some good moves and has just gotten really unlucky. And I think his luck finally turns around. Getting to play one of the worst teams in the league can do that for you, you know? And historically, what's interesting about this matchup is that they have only averaged 92.5 points per team. So really low scoring affairs, maybe because of Rick in general, but I don't think he'll be too far off from that this go around. But my vote goes for Adler.
All right, and that is it for matchup rundown week 4. We will see how all those prediction goes. But of course, we are officially here in football season. It feels like it's back. And it's just been so exciting to be back with you, Todd, to be back with all of our Buffalo boys. And that is it for today's episode. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're liking the content. Good luck to everyone this week. And great to talk to you, Todd. We will talk next week.
And, you know, everyone keeps sending in your questions. We're getting enough that we might be able to do a mailbag soon. So if you want your question read on air, we got a special episode, special segment coming up for you. But yes, it's going to be a fun weekend, Ryan. Another Buffalo Boys podcast in the books. It's been a pleasure. And remember, don't get buffaloed.